Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. Joined by Cousin Jared here for Thursday, April 4th, Major League Baseball. Cousin Jared, been a while since we've had some assistance on this show. It's always good to have someone back.
Yes, and I'm excited for baseball season to be here. I would make my normal allergy joke, and that's how I know that it's baseball season. But so far, I've been okay on the allergies this year. So knock on wood, can't make that joke this year. But yeah, always excited for baseball to be here. At home can have just baseball on the TV for a majority of the day, certain days of the week. So that's always a pleasant experience.
Yeah, so we had daytime baseball here on Tuesday. That was a lot of fun. We don't typically get that. Typically, it's just Wednesday, Thursday, a random Cubs game here and there. But always love our daytime baseball. We have a lot of day baseball here for Thursday. It's a short slate because that's why you're on. No offense, we'd love to have you on and Jake on and talk baseball. I like it when I have someone else to talk to about these games, mainly because I get to pause and let y'all talk and listen to what y'all say, and oftentimes trigger something in my brain that was like, oh yeah, I was going to say this too. And I get to come back and say that. And when it's just me, if I don't remember, I just kind of move on to the next game. But if we had y'all on to talk about 15 baseball games in a day, we would have like a 2-hour show. So we'll be bringing you and Jake on sporadically here when we have shorter slates to get y'all's insight, dive a little deeper into the game since we have a lot to talk about here. We've often joked too that the Thursday shows are some of the weaker viewed shows. It's like that. What's the standard work week thing, right? Monday, you answer all your emails and get caught up, map out your week. And then like Tuesdays, you're like most productive day. That's why like flights are cheaper on Tuesday because people aren't looking for flights on Tuesday. And then I don't know, Wednesday, I guess people are working. And then like Thursday is the day where everyone's like, I've got to finish up my work. And then Friday, our views on Fridays is usually pretty good because people don't want to work on Friday. So it's maybe it'll be a little bit shorter show if you're just trying to get your work in. Maybe it'll be a little shorter for you. If you are one of the few people who doesn't have to worry about that, then congrats to you. And hopefully we'll give you some entertainment here for your Thursday. I get a lot of day games here, but remember, if you're not with us yet, check us out on Dub Club. You got a free 10-day trial to start you out there. We are going to be shifting our platform of the play over there to Dub Club, as also have a cheaper tier for people who just want to get that, as unfortunately our friends over at Black Book Sports are not offering baseball picks anymore. We can't get them on that platform. So we'll have details about that coming out soon. But if not, I'll start us off on that 10-day trial. Picks when you can't watch the show, picks when we can't do a show like on Sundays. A lot of summaries provided for you, information, details. Just check it out, see if you like it. We have an insanely high retention rate relative to other handicappers on Dub Club because we provide a lot. That doesn't mean we're perfect. We wish we were. Unfortunately, we are going to lose some picks, but we are all about slow and steady, long-term profitability, giving people information, as much information as they possibly want. I've tried to find a product such that no matter what tier level of better you are, I'm providing information for you to help you become a little better. We have a lot of fun in our Discord chat, people looking out for each other. So a lot of great things. First 5 run line, reverse run line, all sorts of goodies over there. Check that out. QR code or the link in the show description will start you out with your 10-day free trial. Because Jared, any other reasons for people to come on Dub Club, or have I finally been doing this long enough I actually remember to have a good spiel for the first time ever?
I think you just about hit it, except there it's hard to believe, but still college basketball going on. Going to have all the picks on college basketball up as well. Hockey playoffs are going to be coming up on us fairly soon. Everything you could want, we've got there.
The hockey model, and someone asked about it in the Discord today. Hockey model's done okay. It's hockey's a high variant sport, so we've had winning weeks and losing weeks, just kind of like almost alternating. But the overall is about 3% ROI on the hockey model, with I believe 450 picks now. So that's not bad for our first try here at hockey, first iteration of it. So I think better things are to come on that. So if you're interested in betting hockey, because I love betting on hockey personally, I love watching hockey. It's a lot of fun. You have to. I think hockey and baseball are very similar in how you bet them, in that a lot of it is the mental game of making sure you're happy with your bet, because the whole empty netter thing, the whole extra goal going to overtime thing, it kind of reminds me a lot of baseball, where baseball, you have totals, you're worried about extra innings. So do you think about first 5, the run line, the fact that it's hard to win by more than a run if you're the home team, if you're tied late. It's that same sort of mindset of like, in college basketball, it's kind of the same with the late fouls. Right? You're like, how do I make a play such that I don't hate myself in 2 hours or 5, whatever. But the model helps us out, does pretty well there. So you're absolutely right. College basketball wrapping up hockey as well over there. That's enough of that. We'll start off here with Tigers and Mets for like the 900th time.
Maybe it'll actually happen this time.
Maybe it'll actually happen this time. It looks like all the rain's cleared. It will still be a chilly day in the Big Apple. Still windy. Most of the wind here for the first game looks like it's going to be more blowing across than anything else. But low 40 temperatures should keep the runs down. Here's the thing: is we've been preaching for days now the unders with these two teams. Saying the weather is friendly for it, the offenses aren't very good for it, these numbers should be lower. And it's like, I don't know, after maybe all of us decided to bet these unders and then the games got canceled, the books finally were like, maybe we shouldn't hang the number so high. They finally the number at a total of 7. And I'm like, well, shoot, like I don't want to go under that now because this first game is the one that we think we know the pitchers. Casey Mize and Adrian Hauser are listed at sportsbooks right now. And those pitchers aren't great. Both of them are subpar, as you can see there on screen. I still think unders like the way I would go if I had to play it, because as you can see there, the bullpens are above average. The offenses on aggregate are not good. Tigers, not a great offense. Mets obviously can be very disappointing there. But at 7 with these pitchers, I don't know. If I had to, I would. But we got a B grade play on the Mets. So let's just take the Mets here at -126. The A grade threshold for backing them is -120. As the model gives me a 58% chance to win. Adrian Hauser, according to Sideline, basically cancels out with Casey Mize. The bullpens basically cancel out, but you have Diaz at the back end, which is nice. Obviously, all those bullpen arms are as fresh as can be. And the Mets offense better than the Tigers offense at home. Short price for the Mets here. It looks like we'll finally get this series wrapped up here on Thursday. So game 1, we're taking the Mets. Cousin Jared, what are your thoughts?
I feel like you took the words right out of my mouth. If you look at kind of the matchup here on the screen, really the only thing that stands out to you is that the Mets have an edge offensively. Apologies for not putting too much stock in that the Tigers are the last undefeated team in the American League. I doesn't really do much for me.
They've also played the fewest games at this point.
That is true.
They've only played 4 games.
They have gotten an assist in that department. So, yeah, I think the Mets offense is the difference in this game. I'll be interested to see as the season has kind of started and as the season goes along. Like last year, of course, fading the Mets was extremely profitable, especially when it got to the point, like if Singo wasn't on the mound, like you weren't going to back the Mets. I'll be interested to see if there's an overreaction based on how they finished last season. Are the books still going to be slanted towards the Mets being favored, or are we going to have more games like this where, hey, there's some value on the Mets? So this is something that I have my eye on. Like they're not the Mets aren't going to be great this year, but it's going to be tough for them to be as bad as they were last year. As long as they can stay healthy, I don't know if we're going to have a repeat of what happened last year.
That's kind of what I was thinking with this Mets team. Like offensively, like they're okay. Like they've got a couple of guys who can hit, like Marte's, still got a decent bat, and they're just okay. I mean, they're not great, obviously, offensively, but like they've struggled obviously out the gate. 0-4 start, but right, I don't take too much stock in that. They're okay offensively. They've got some decent arms. They've got a decent enough bullpen. Their biggest thing is going to be, of course, are they going to get to the middle of the season and trade all their pieces off? Are they going to be able to stay healthy? Of course. But they already have were they the team that had a pitcher? Who had the pitcher who got a concussion and has to go on the IL because he got food poisoning and fell down? When's the last time you heard of a concussion from food poisoning? I don't know if that was them or not, but that's the sort of thing that sounds like a Mets thing, if nothing else.
Yeah, that does sound like a Mets thing, or one of your players that spends most of their offseason in another country, and like that's just what they came back for spring training with. So yeah, very, very strange.
I don't know if you heard about that, but they were talking about it on, I believe it was on one of the Astros broadcasts I was watching, how there were a bunch of players who were sick from eating food over from Korea coming back. I don't remember if it was from the Padres or the Dodgers. One of the teams had a bunch of players. And they were talking about apparently last year the same thing happened when the Padres played whoever that was down in Mexico, the same sort of thing.
Mhm.
Just guys eating a bunch of foods and spices and things that they are not accustomed to. And so they were talking about the Astros going down there this year and being like, having to figure out like, how do we handle this as a team where we can enjoy the local cuisine, but also like, not, some of our guys' stomachs can't handle stuff apparently. So anyway, we've got off the rails at this point. So the Mets game one here, not a bad price. The Mets aren't great, but they are, as good as this Tigers team in this situation at home. -126, a reasonable pick. Again, I would go under if I had to, but 7, is a very likely outcome. But to me, it's under or pass with the weather, with the 40-degree temperature, and a very pitcher friendly ballpark.
Yep.
Which will take us to game 2. No pick on game 2 because there are no lines out for game 2. There are no lines out for game 2 because we don't know the exact pitchers. I'm presuming right now it will be the matchup that we were supposed to have here on game 3 of this series, which was Skubal and Quintana. I don't see why that wouldn't be the case. The Skubal's the best pitcher for the Tigers, why they wouldn't want to get him in. Quintana's a decent arm, a guy who's going to eat innings for them. Not fantastic, but not terrible, of course. So that's what I'm assuming he's going to go with. But we haven't heard anything officially on this, and I believe I saw one report of a completely different pitcher getting thrown in the mix for the Tigers, which I was like, Matt Manning maybe. I was like, where's he coming from? Like, I don't know what's happening here. So we don't know the pitchers. Long story short, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, except for to say the weather for game 2 looks like the weather for game 1. Low to mid 40s. The wind is going to start to shift a little bit in as we move forward in this game. If it's Skubal, I'd go under for sure. I would not go under 6.5 just because that's a terrifying number. Maybe you look to the first 5 at that point. But if it is Skubal, under 7 will be fine. If it's not, I'd love it under 7.5. But it's kind of like I said in game 1. It's under or pass. Cannot necessarily recommend or not recommend a side because we have no idea what the price will be. But if it is Skubal, Tigers 55% to win. That would translate to a money line price. If I'm finding the right line here, at -124 would be what the price on the Tigers should be for this one. Because do you have any thoughts for us on game 2 to finally wrap up this series? That seems like the series that's never going to actually happen.
Yeah, if you talked about the first 5, if you could get, the first 5 projection is 3.2 for this game. If you could get a extremely juiced under like 4 somewhere, like -135, I don't know. Like I would definitely be willing to lay some juice to get an under 4. If you get 3.5, it's like that's not it's not as exciting. So anyway, if I were looking at this, I would be definitely looking for like a 4 that's super juiced.
Yeah. Again, all the first 5 information available to everybody on Dub Club for every single game, including run line, first 5 run line, money line, all that good stuff. But as always, folks, remember, shop around on the price for these games. Price matters. Every nickel you can save in the long run, especially making a lot of bets, is going to add money to your bank account. So if you have not yet signed up for an account, BetUS is a great book to add to your up to 125% bonus for your first ever 3 deposits. I don't know how much longer they're going to keep doing that. I know it was a March thing. I don't know how long into April it's going to be. So if you haven't yet, now is the time. There's that rollover requirement with it. You're going to have to play through the money a little bit. They don't just give you free money you can walk away with. As cool as that would be, they aren't that cool. Unfortunately, that's kind of silly business. But with all the baseball games here happening, you will be able to roll through that, especially with the hockey as well. So check them out if you haven't yet already.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
And again, that sign-up link is in the show description for BetUS. Moving on to the 4 p.m. slot, Pirates and the Nationals. Because Jared, I'm really glad you're on show for this one so that you can discuss this game more than I can. The reason why is the city of Pittsburgh officially hates me. I don't know why. I know they started it, and look, I'm going to continue the beef because I hate them too. But every time I try to finish it, they just keep punking me, and it doesn't really matter if it's a college team or the hockey team or the baseball team now. The city of Pittsburgh just hates me. And it's unfortunate. No matter what I do, I just can't. I'm officially like 0-9,000 in games involved. That's not true. Obviously, that's one of those. That's one of those you only remember when you choose the wrong line at the grocery store things. But it just feels like I cannot figure out this Pirates team. part of that is random variance, and that's just kind of is what it is. But unfortunately, I think the way that we're going to have to break this curse is because Jared, you were going to take the lead on this one. We are picking the Pirates at minus 127, just ekes into an A grade, literally by the hair of its chinny chin chin. But why? Because Jared, are we on the Pirates here?
Josiah Gray, not great. That's the primary reason that we are on the Pirates here. I have a little bit more trust in Martin Perez than I do Josiah Gray. The other thing is like we have seen a few years now where the Pirates are definitely able to start the season hot. They do well out of the gate, and then all of their issues start. Well, last year started when O'Neal Cruz got hurt, but the last 2/3 of the season is where it kind of goes awry, which 100 games. So plenty of time for things to still go bad.
Small sample size.
Yeah, small sample size. So that's the main thing here. I obviously like how the Pirates have been playing. I like the matchup they have against Josiah Gray. We've got a history of them playing well at the beginning of the season. I think that continues here against the Nationals.
Yeah, and just to go a little bit deeper there on Josiah Gray, obviously he got shellacked at his first start. The underlying metrics weren't overly kind to him as well, so it's not like it was just some bad luck. He's been a guy we've kind of been fading a lot here, really ever since he came up. Always a little bit overhyped. I think coming up, we thought he would be maybe mediocre, and people thought he would be good, and it turned out that he was not good, and now we kind of think he's going to be bad. And so we've kind of just always been a little bit lower on him than the market. It's mostly worked for us. So fading him makes a lot of sense. Pirates have a bullpen edge. Pirates have an offense edge. They did not get it done for us on Wednesday, unfortunately. But Martin Perez, I'm asking him to do what I asked Mitch Keller to do, which he was not able to accomplish. I'm asking him to do what Joe Musgrove what I asked him to do, which he was able to accomplish, which is just be better than the crappy opposing pitcher you're facing. So we were 1-2 on that request here on Wednesday. We'll see if we can nail it on Thursday. Perez did well in his 4 innings in his first start. The underlying metrics weren't kind, though. That's why his grade did not really improve. I'm still not overly positive on him, but I at least trust him to be mediocre, whereas I don't for Josiah Gray. Josiah Gray gets rocked around a lot, and so hopefully that happens here again.
Because I love to talk about this, I don't know how many opportunities I'm going to have. And this is just the first week of the season, but I'm concerned about our boy Mitch Keller. We have ridden him for a good 2 years. The end of last year, it was like bumpy.
Started the fade.
We had some. If we were on a flight, we had some turbulence, but I thought that we were still going to have a clean landing, and then spring training just did not look. But it wasn't like didn't look good. He was working on another pitch kind of thing. It was like didn't look good. Like velocity was down.
Velocity was down by a lot.
And now what we've seen so far.
It would not surprise me. I am a doctor. I do have a PhD. It is not a medical doctor, so I'm not the useful kind of doctor. If I'm on a plane, right? Don't call me. But it would not surprise me if it's one of those things where he's going to have Tommy John or something like that, where it comes out that he's got this injury that he's kind of playing through, and it's not. And we see this all the time with pitchers where it's like that velocity drop happens, and there's something underlying there that we didn't catch necessarily right away. It wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, you hope that's not it, but that velocity being down is enough to be a concern, and it's translated to these not good results here early on in the season for him.
And the other person it reminds me of is Christian Javier after he just kind of gassed last year. I'm hoping that we don't have a full season of Mitch Keller being so far, but
and Javier came through for us, which is exactly what I said yesterday, right? That I was like, I'm hesitant, but that's what I was said all last year was. But the thing with Javier is that he at least looked okay for the first part of last season. It was after about 2 months where it just was too much for him, and he just kind of fell apart. But he just needed that time off and whatnot. But you don't like to see this at the start of the year. His rating's going to take a big hit after another poor start. But Pirates here, A grade, just takes into it for one of the 4 p.m. games. The other 4 p.m. game, Guardians at the Tigers, we're going to go under 7.5 on this one. Weather in a lot of these games, it seems like just in the 40s. I mean, just scrolling down the list here, every single temperature starts and ends in the 40s, except for the night game in Kansas City is going to start off in the mid-50s. Everything else is in the 40s. So chilly temperatures. That means the ball isn't going to fly quite as well. Wind will be blowing slightly in, slightly across. We're going to get under 7.5 B grade pick. Pablo Lopez, a guy we've loved to back. great in his first outing, one of the few guys who was able to reach 7 innings. Tanner Bybee in his first start, not great, but overall, he's been respectable for the Guardians. And as I mentioned, the benefit with the Guardians is they have a great bullpen. And so even if he is to struggle at some point or only go 4 innings like last time, they have a lot of great arms. This Guardians team, I'm kind of optimistically high on. I think I'm not going to say this is their year, but I'm going to say like this might be the best Guardians offense we've seen in a while, which isn't saying much, but it's like it's above average. It's it's still going to be a little bit left-handed heavy and struggle against lefties, but it's respectable. They got some good arms. The bullpen's looking strong again. I think they're at least decent enough. At Minnesota here, the price is pretty right on the side, but for the total under 7.5 makes a lot of sense as the model's projecting 6.9 runs. Because Jared, tell us more.
So Sideline would tell you that if you're going to pick a side in this game, it's the Guardians. I would tell you, I'm not sold on the offense. And our boy,
it would tell you Guardians based on the price, I guess.
Yeah.
So I misspoke. I was thinking about another game, but it would lean towards the Guardians based off the price.
Yeah. But I am not convinced. So I like the under here. You said that it was the Guardians and the Tigers. Important to notice the Twins, and because it's our boy Pablo Lopez.
Words are hard.
Words are hard, and you have a small child at home that does
the Tigers. I've talked about the Tigers playing and not playing in so many games. I just feel like they're involved in every game now.
Yes, that is the way that it feels. Like I kept going through all my apps, and I was like, okay, I thought the last game was postponed. Why is it saying that this game is postponed? It's just like moving the games around anyway.
Yeah.
So our boy Pablo Lopez, love Pablo Lopez. You mentioned how DP has gone into the games. So Twins have the disadvantage with the bullpen here, but I'm not sure how much that actually matters. If you can get Pablo Lopez, like you said, going to eat up some innings and get to the back end of the Twins bullpen, which is a little more respectable than the rest of the bullpen as a whole. One thing that I haven't touched on yet in this show, can't believe that I've made it this far without touching on, in my opinion, you got to take advantage of the weather while you've got the gross weather. I know you've mentioned weather with all the games, but from a allocating capital perspective, you want to make sure that you are taking advantage of this poor weather, strong winds blowing in, whatever it might be early in the season, because it's going to be 6 weeks from now, and we're going to be talking about how things have warmed up and it's time to start hitting those overs at our favorite ballparks. And so I want to take advantage of that. The weather's going to help us here. It's a combination of the weather with Pablo Lopez at home. That's a pretty good combination for an under, in my opinion.
Yes, we are eyeing here the Twins home opener, I believe, which is why this is an afternoon contest. So that's always fun. But yeah, Pablo Lopez has been great to us. And the model takes that into account. As you mentioned, it can't predict the future. So it can't predict when Pablo's going to start 7 or 8 innings or whatever. But I do remember last year when we were doing some pitcher props, we rode him a few times with the over. It was like, 17 and a half outs, I think. And it was like, this guy's going 6 innings, like every single start minimum. It seems like, but it does know that he's one of the better pitchers with regards to length. And so it's kind of mitigating some of the weaker arms of the Twin bullpen a little bit. And so you're absolutely right. The model's thinking about that. The answer to how do you exactly do that is art, not science. And so obviously one can argue that the model was not taking into account enough. There's no right answer to that, of course. But, should be a reasonably good contest. And like you said, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is take advantage of the fact that we are not expecting a lot of runs in this one. Moving forward to our next game here, Marlins and the Cardinals. We are going to, I guess there's one other 4 p.m. game here. We're going to go under 8.5 in this one. And it's the same story that I kind of just mentioned, right? Chilly temperatures that we want to take advantage of early on in the season, low 40s, wind blowing mostly across, massive weather adjustment. Ryan Weathers and Lance Lynn, folks, we often talk about how do you lose a bet? Well, you lose a bet. The way you lose this one's Ryan Weathers. But the good news for us is that the Cardinals offense grades out below average, which is the first time I can remember saying that, other than a short spell, I believe last year when they had like a couple of injuries, and then it was like the random Sunday when they benched like Contreras or something. I mean, other than that, this has been a really good offense for the last several years, and it's real top heavy. The bottom half is real weak. They got a lot of young kids there. This Marlins offense is putrid at this point, and so that helps us for the end of the Cardinals. Bullpen is good. Lance Lynn, very respectable, a pitcher who maybe struggled a little bit last year. He's a guy you got to kind of keep an eye on. Some of these, larger pitchers struggled a little bit with the pitch clock because they're kind of forced to pitch quicker than they used to, maybe catch their breath a little bit. And he was a guy that maybe had a little bit of that struggle, but you kind of have to be a little more optimistic now in year 2 of this. They've kind of figured out, they kind of know the routine now. And I think coming up from the minors, a lot of these pitchers will be great or won't have any issues with it because they're used to it in the minors. The guys that catches are these veterans who are used to doing their own thing. And it just kind of, so he kind of had some struggles a little bit last year, but seems to be maybe back on track here. Mahler gives him an above average rating, looked really good in his first start for those first 4 innings. So we're going to trust the Marlins offense not being very good. Both of these pitchers, decent enough against subpar offense in great weather to go under 8.5. Model projects 7.1 in this game. The only reason this is a B grade is because I hate going under 8.5. That's really the only reason. Otherwise, this is a great under for us, but we just hate that losing by a hook. So no reason not to play this under, as the model thinks way fewer runs. Because Jared, what's your thoughts?
So all of the things that you mentioned, big weather spot here. Cardinals offense, meh. I would also say Cardinals played a West Coast game earlier today, coming back for a day game here in St. Louis. Tough travel spot for them. Marlins offense is terrible. Everything you just said. I'm interested in Lance Lynn. And I'm saying that from the perspective of genuinely curious. Even when he has struggled, he has still missed bats and had strikeouts over 9 Ks per 9 last season. I just feel like he's got something left in the tank. I don't know if he's going to put it all together. The Cardinals went out and signed a few guys for their rotations, like took flyers, not necessarily flyers on some guys, but signed some veterans that were just so-so, but they kind of had potential. I have no idea what's going to happen. You mentioned that one random day last year where they decided that Wilson Contreras wasn't going to catch anymore, and then all of a sudden decided he was going to catch again.
That was weird.
Like if easy to say this, like if Molina was still there catching, then you could be like, hey, this is a guy that he's going to work with, and Lance Lynn's going to get back on track. Now it's like, I don't know for sure. You feel like the Cardinals have used up a lot of the good vibes that they built up for, it seems like 2 decades. I don't have as much faith in him as I used to. If this were 5 years ago, I would have said, hey, Lance Lynn's going to win like 14 games and have like a sub-4 ERA. Now I don't know. Anyway, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm curious about Lance Lynn. He can still miss bats. If he gets a good, rapport with the coaches, with the catchers there, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have a decent season.
Yeah, the return of Lance Lynn to St. Louis, right? I'm sure that's been talked about, of course. Different catcher, like you said, because Molina was the catcher there for approximately 812 years, it seems like.
Yes.
But he had, of course, his best years in St. Louis. And then from there was kind of up and down. Had a couple of decent years with the Rangers. And then the first couple of years with the White Sox was good, too, for the most part. I mean, it was more up than down. It was really, I guess, just one question year. Then last year, like I said, the wheels just fell off. And I think a lot of that was the timer. We saw that a lot, like I said, for pitchers who had a little bit heavier weight that they just didn't quite seem to have it. As the season went on, though, he seemed to get a little bit better. Part of that's pitching in Los Angeles, a little bit different situation, but maybe a little bit better results. Unlike you, I'm not exactly sure where he'll land, but at this point, pitching back at a pitcher-friendly ballpark in St. Louis helps. It played a little bit more hitter-friendly last year than it has in years past, but in general, still a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. And again, the other benefit here, he's facing the Marlins, right? So it's one of those things where don't know what he'll be able to do all season, if he's going to have a good season or not. Maybe not. Maybe he's washed up at this point. But even washed-up pitchers, as we saw last year with the Cardinals, with Adam Wainwright, can can still have some good outings when they're facing really bad offenses, and the Marlins definitely qualify for that. So under 8.5, the B grade play there. Again, only a B grade simply because under 8.5 is just feels like a curse because you want that 9, but it's a very strong model edge. And then wrapping us up for the night game, White Sox and Royals. No pick on this one right now. We'll see if there's a pick in the morning, but right now the model thinks this is priced very accurately. D grade picks would be it right now. So the model would just kind of lean you one direction or the other. So we'll just kind of have an open discussion about it. Mike Soroka and Seth Lugo. Soroka got lit up in his first start, as many of the White Sox pitchers have. And I mentioned that Garrett Crochet, of course, the lone bright spot for them offensively is by far their best pitcher. And once it's beyond him, it gets a little bit rockier. The White Sox bullpen's not very good. Their offense is very good. The Royals here coming back home with Seth Lugo, 6 innings his first start. Underlying metrics were positive. You have to be optimistic if you're the Royals for winning this game. Here's the thing is that even though the model says they win 60% of the time, they are fairly heavy favorites already. So it kind of seems to be priced fairly right. To me, it's Royals or pass. I'm going to leave back in the White Sox if it's a Crochet at this point, really, or the price is just phenomenal. So my thought is Royals or pass. Because Jared, what's your take on this one?
How bad are the White Sox going to be this year?
Terrible.
I felt like they hit bottom last year, but I mean, it's only 5 games. Can't say anything, but it's like, man, it feels like it's been worse so far this season. Royals, man, I would give anything for the Royals to just be like fine. I don't think they're going to be 500, but man, if this team could find a way to win like 70, 75 games, anything to make the AL Central, it was just, it just wasn't fun last year. Like all of the baseball was so bad. Like I just want a couple of these teams to be able to hang around 500 and at least put a scare into the Twins maybe. And I don't know if it's the Guardians or the Royals or who it might be. But I just want somebody undefeated Detroit Tigers. I just want 1 or 2 teams to be able to give the Twins a little bit of a run this year. Cause last year that was not fun baseball.
There's been a lot of years where that's been the case. But yeah, last year was definitely tough, especially when we mentioned this with the Tigers. We've kind of consistently thought they would be a team that could jump up in there and threaten these last couple of years. They just haven't quite put it all together. Maybe this is the year they've got some good starting pitching, and that can go a long way if they can keep those starting pitchers healthy. So that's obviously a hope for them. Royals, I mean, they have a shot. They'll play well at home. The issue with them, of course, is going to be the bullpen, but they were able to, beat the Orioles once, give them quite a scare in another game on the road. So that's at least a good start. And again, they should win this one. They are more likely to win than not. The issue is, again, is the price good enough? Do they win this enough times in the long run to make it profitable back home? To me, it's Royals or pass. I don't really love the price I'm seeing in the Royals right now. The other way to look, of course, is the under on this one. Right now, I'm seeing 8.5. The issue is it's juiced. I don't love under 8.5. I don't love juice, and the projection of 8.2 isn't overly exciting. This is a very hitter-friendly ballpark, but we mentioned, it's going to be pitcher-friendly weather across baseball for the entire day here. So I don't know, maybe a White Sox team total unders an alternative way to look. I don't really know yet. We'll see if there's a play in the morning. Again, first 5, all sorts of other benefits that we'll have over there on Dub Club. Otherwise, though, that is our show for the day. Cousin Jared, parting words before we head out.
Glad baseball's back. Stick with us for the end of basketball season. We're going to see you through with picks until the bitter end.
There you go. All right. That's very well said. All right. As always, again, best of luck, and we will see y'all tomorrow.